What's going on there, guys? We back with another one, and today, man, we got Brett Favre clapping back at Shannon Sharpe, Pat McAfee, and a Mississippi auditor by the name of Shad White for defamation over that $77 million welfare fraud scheme. Now, a spokesperson for Brett Favre said Shannon Sharpe and Pat McAfee tried to further their careers by making baseless defamatory allegations against Brett Favre. One of the things that's listed in their complaint is Shannon Sharpe calling him a sleazeball, and then said, that Brett knowingly stole $1.1 million in welfare funds, to go out and make speeches, like using it for that, and pretty much those funds were set aside for, for the impoverished. They said the Mississippi Department of Human Services dropped their $1.1 million demand because he paid the debt, but he issued a new demand, and they said he used anti-poverty funds to pay for a volleyball arena at his alma mater, the University of Southern Mississippi, where one of his daughters play, right? And so, man, Brett Favre has been sitting back, and he's one of these guys that, I felt like would do something like this. Let's refresh our memory what Shannon Sharpe said about him.
And they sitting around like, well, it happened, and we'll see. And they're going to get more money and do it all over again. The biggest criminals, the people that steal the most, look like that. But he's been a sleazeball. He's been shady for a very, very long time.
Public fraud case in the history of the state of Mississippi.
Did you have any sense when you took the case of what you were wading into?
No, absolutely not. The folks who were making the spending decisions were acting as if there were no consequences here, that there were no real rules around this money. They thought of this fund as not only their own fund to do what they wanted with, but they thought of it as a slush fund that no one was watching at all.
And it seems no one was, until White began to look into a string of odd payments from a state welfare program called TANF, or Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. Among them, a payment of $5 million to a project being spearheaded by a man with a familiar name, Brett Favre. It was a project that didn't seem to be assisting needy families at all, a brand new volleyball arena at the Mississippi college where Favre's daughter played on the team.
It is clearly a volleyball court built at a time when Mr. Favre's daughter is there, and you can't spend money intended for the poor on something like that. Your transaction involving $1.1 million going to Mr. Favre. He's supposed to speak at 3 total speaking engagements, but he didn't show up to those events.
This is all it takes for $1 million to be shoveled out the agency.
Right.
And so the second guy you guys heard from is the auditor that was talking about everything that went down with Brett Favre. Now, guys, this is why sometimes, when Shannon Sharpe and those guys, they're talking about athletes and they don't talk about certain players, or even Stephen A. Smith. Sometimes they don't talk about, well, not certain players, but sometimes when they're not talking about former athletes or certain topics, this is probably why the network tells them to stay away from some of this, because they don't want to get sued behind it. Particularly in this case, obviously, Brett Favre may have been someone allegedly that was looking for a come up, and they want to stay far away from these type of things because, see, now the money he was trying to get, he's going to try to come through Fox Sports and get it based off something Shannon Sharpe said about him and Pat McAfee and those guys. He's trying to sue these people to get that same money he was getting from these welfare funds, allegedly. Don't expect nobody else to touch this topic. And I noticed they've kind of gone away from this topic. So I'm sure Shannon Sharpe and all the people at all the networks know. Disney is the parent company. So I know they probably told Stephen A. Smith, all those guys, Jay Williams, Max Kellerman, and all them to dial it back a little bit on Brett Favre, because he seems to be on a warpath. And honestly, I think Jalen Rose has something to say about him. I mean, it was on every talk show, so I don't know why Shannon Sharpe is getting the brunt of this. I probably do. Their beef could go back to their playing days, and that's all it would take for somebody like that to really enforce it on this person if they never had a liking for him or always had a high amount of disdain for a particular individual, you know. So man, I thought this was interesting though. Old Uncle Shay Shay getting sued by Brett Favre, and I doubt they addressed this. You know, I know Fox Sports probably done called him and was like, look, let's leave it there. Let's not dig any deeper hole with this. Let this be. And oh man, tell me what you guys think about it though, man. What do you think about Brett Favre doing this? Because if Shannon, I wonder, like, if Shannon would have said allegedly, you know, could Brett had done anything? If he was just, I have to go back and watch everything that he said. But if Shannon is just reading out the reports and giving his take based on the reports, is that really bad? Is that a bad thing? Like, can he still be sued by saying allegedly this report said boom, 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 and this, I think this about X, Y, and Z mentioned in the report? If true, if he used words like that, if true, allegedly, you know, he used those words to leave a gray area there, would he be in trouble? I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes of this though, man. And he's going for this Mississippi auditor, and this guy seemed to know exactly what he was talking about. I cut up the clip a little bit, but he seems like he knows exactly what was going on, and he's seen names and documents and everything else, you know, because he's an auditor in the state of Mississippi. So he's seen legit documents, and he was talking about how weird it was a certain amount of funds was being routed in places that's definitely not suited to help the impoverished in the state. So I don't know, man. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about all this. This is pretty wild. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.